What's going on, everybody? Ryan the Mighty Quinn here at the Cornerman _MMA. We got a great one to break down for UFC Vegas 67 next week. We did the main event. You can look back with Gaston Lombo versus Imamo, and now we have a little bit. I think it might even be the co-main event now. We have 13th ranked in the world featherweight division with Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson, a surging Damon Jackson, I might add to you. Dan has lost has lost 3 of his last 4. Damon's won 4 of his last 4. Very interesting matchup. So let's see where strengths and weaknesses are before we get into the game plan. I think it's very obvious. We'll start that Damon's superior on the ground, even though both are black belts in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Damon has showed far more effectiveness with his grappling. And I think overall ground as well, grappling / ground and pound, I think that gets negated here. So then we go wrestling. EJ has a Division III wrestling background. Wrestling clearly goes to him. Damon's not a very good wrestler, even though he gets the fights to the ground, which that's gonna be a big part of this fight. And then stand up. You know what? I am not completely convinced that Dan EJ is a completely superior fighter on the feet than Damon is. I think the power punching, maybe slightly the boxing, yes, goes to Dan Ige. However, Damon has showed that he could move his head, let his hands go a little bit for what he needs to do. You know, he kind of qualifies as a specialty fighter. I know we always like to throw these jiu-jitsu fighters into that category, but I'm not completely sold. But okay. We'll give the nod, so to speak, to Dan Ige in the stand-up. So how does this go down? Let's start with Dan. So if I'm Dan, like I said, he's got great power punching, great wrestling. I would rely on that defensive wrestling here. You know that Damon wants to go to the ground. When that happens, in that instance, he tends to kind of stay flat-footed a little bit, and with the power punching, he also tends to get a little off balance, and he gets loopy. Against somebody that's trying to come in on you, you don't want to give them any windows to go under. So I would activate my jab a little bit more than we've seen prior, just to keep things straight, keep things distance. I also think a big key in this fight for both fighters would be a front kick, how to gauge. Now, let's go back to the jab, though. So he's going to have to jab to set up those power punches. If he just comes in with those power punches, first of all, Damon's tough as nails. He can eat punches, take a few to get in. But Damon's just going to cover up and try to go underneath to grab a body lock, maybe a double leg, but most likely a body lock, and drag him to the ground with the jiu-jitsu body lock takedown. Or go against the fence where he could start his ground game. Like a Charles Oliveira, Damon could start his ground against the fence, his jiu-jitsu against the fence. So, yeah, if I'm Danny, I'm activating that jab. I'm making sure that I'm setting up my power punches. Another thing, you can use your power punches to set up more power punches. If I'm in the corner, I'm not having him shy away from body shots. I'm having him even throw shots to the shoulder, so to speak. What does that do? When you throw shoulder shots like that, shoulder power shots, it rocks your opponent off balance. So now Damon's going to have to readjust to get back to his progress. But it sets up other power shots. For me, I used to throw like right hands, hopefully land here. But if it lands here, it's setting up the left hook, stuff like that. Just keep him rock, land those power shots. We want to get those power shots in if we're Danny Ice. That's our main focus here. Keep it standing and win with those power shots. So now, in order to do that, you can't just stand there and pot shot, which Danny doesn't do. So he's going to have to figure out how to kind of slowly get offside. He's not very fleet-footed from what I've seen. So he's going to have to just kind of use his legs to move his head. You can't really see me doing it now. I'm not using my body. I'm using my legs to shift my weight, to step offside, step off center, to throw jabs, throw that straight right, left hook, overhand right, stuff like that, and use your head to mix up your punches a little bit. Use your head movement to mix up your punches. Because if he stands straight on throwing those power punches, Damon's going to come underneath. So what would the adjustment be here if he's losing the fight? If he's losing the fight, I would try to activate my kicks a little bit more. Try to get Damon against the fence I need that head position. Rasad Bektik used to be really good at this. I need that head. If I'm Dan, I need to get my head underneath Damon to extend him. Let's think of it like this: like Danny now needs to rely on his athleticism if he's going to win this fight for Plan B. He needs to get underneath. He needs to use his strength. He needs to show that I'm a superior athlete, a little bit younger. I don't like to lean in on that, but I need to just bully Damon against the fence and use that head position to keep Damon out of position and work those shots. Work those shots. Maybe snap to wrestling to work shots. I don't. I would try to avoid the ground mostly at all costs here, unless you're able to weather Damon. But I would just try to make it dirty boxing against the fence. That would be my assessment. I'm really happy we finally get to break down a grappling versus striking bout here. So now, what happens if I'm Damon? As we know, Damon wants to go to the ground. He makes no bones about it. He has improved striking. Uh, he's really tough. His wrestling suspect, like we mentioned, but he does have those good body locks to the leg behind kick out trips. So if I'm Damon, first thing is he's going to have to get in front of Danny, which is tough against the power puncher. So he's going to have to move his head. If I'm the corner, move that head, move that head. That's not a secret. Move your head, keep your head moving. When the feet stop moving, the head starts. Move that head to take the target offline for the power shots. But also now, I wouldn't rush to the ground. If you rush, you're going to run into some uppercuts. You're going to run into some looping punches, some power shots. You're going to do all the hard work for Dan to score on. So what I would do is I would let the 1-2s go, and I would activate that front kick that Damon actually has proven. This is why I'm not completely sold that Ige is a more superior stand-up fighter than Damon. So I would activate that front kick. What is this going to do? This is going to annoy the power puncher. This is going to make him want to come in with those power punches. He's getting scored on. He's getting those annoying shots here. He's getting some hands in his face. So it's almost like you're being offensive to score being counter offensive. Okay, throw those punches. Just beat 1-2. Just let even if it's not scoring, even if it's covering up, Dan's eventually going to have to open up to throw those power punches. And that's when we slip under. That's when we score. That's when we get our takedown, our body locks, and we wet blanket the powerful striker, the powerful fighter, until we could submit him. Another thing here is I would totally rely on the jiu-jitsu if I was Damon. Obviously, he does in his fight now. I think back control is going to be key here. I think that I really could see this fight ending with Damon winning by rear naked choke. Wrestling giveth, wrestling taketh when it comes to Dan Ige. So I've seen Dan, like in today's MMA, the wrestling stand-up, the wrestling escape is very encouraged. But Dan tends to be slow to get up with that hand control, and he hangs a little bit. If you do that against a superior grappler like Damon, he's going to put those hooks in and take your back. He's going to put those hooks in, take your back, and choke you out. I can really see that playing a factor here because Damon does such a good job of wearing on those shoulders to get them pushed forward, to extend his opponent to get his legs in. That is the main focus. I think that is going to be the mindset here for Damon in his corner. Be disciplined. Be disciplined. Don't rush in, which is, with this new resurgence, he's been very disciplined. Although he steamrolled Pat Sabatini. But, use those strikes, move that head, use those strikes, strike with the head movement, 1-2, 1-2, throw that body kick, score. And then when those looping punches come, when he explodes, you go underneath, you wear on him, you try to get that back control. And obviously, if the choke's not there, just punch, just score. Punch, Damon, punch. That's what the corner's yelling. Punch, just score, score, score. That's winning a round. That's winning the judges, no matter who the judges are. All right, now what happens if he can't get to the ground? If he can't get Ige to the ground, he's gonna have to box. He's gonna have to make it a very ugly stand-up fight because eventually he's probably gonna have to get to the ground anyway. But he's gonna have to just use his linear stuff to use those longer arms and just keep Dan at the end of him. But he's going to have to keep that volume way up, and he actually would probably have to stand in front of the power puncher to do so. He's going to have to. Now this is Plan B, mind you. Score volume, Damon. Score front kicks. Keep landing those front kicks and those straight rights, straight lefts. But he's still going to have to just do it at. It's basically Plan A, but with more volume. Okay, that's what I'm thinking here. I wouldn't try to totally make it more of a stand up. I would just try to make Plan A more volume. just more aggressive, more offensive to get Danny to come in. Now, if Danny stays disciplined, it could be a long night for Damon. But that's what I got, guys. Please let me know what you think. Please let me know what fights you would like me to break down that have been announced coming up. I see that Jennifer Maia just got announced, and there's a couple of other ones. I forgot who I saw Jennifer is fighting. But yeah, guys, let me know. Talk to you later.